Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. You know, I noticed something, so I'm doing a little chatty sort of update thing because I'm really curious about this. We just talked about Simon Rattle's OK Mahler 7th. Here it is. But when I showed you the cover, do you notice anything interesting about this? If you take a look, can you guess? Yes, the Sir is missing. It's not there anymore. Now, I was wondering, is he still a Sir? I mean, he hasn't been de-Siricized. I don't think they do that, right? I mean, because if they were to like de-knight somebody, unless they were like, treasonous beasts or something, or maybe really bad conductors, they would have to admit that they were wrong in the first place. And of course, the Queen is never wrong. And I don't know. I don't understand how any of that works. For my entire career, Simon Rattle has only been Simon Rattle because I do not acknowledge patents of nobility. I'm an American, and we Americans aren't into the nobility. We don't do the king thing. Much as, well, never mind, I'm not going there. Anyway, so yes, the Sir is gone. And I think that's really kind of interesting. Maybe it's finally happened that the rest of the world has woken up to the realization that the fact that you stick a Sir in front of everybody's name doesn't mean they're any good. Could be just the opposite. It could be maybe he was debasing the value of Sir by having it there. It's just such an interesting little tidbit, little detail that it's been nagging at me for days now. So I thought I would point that out to you. We could all speculate about what it means. That doesn't mean anything, does it? Maybe it just means that the Germans don't want to do it either. Do the Sir thing. And it's like just a local English fetish. Maybe it's that. I mean, I certainly know that, with my convictions, that when it comes time to have that honor conferred upon me, I would gracefully decline. So there you go. I don't know if foreigners even get to be Sir. Well, Georg Schulte was, but he took English citizenship. Anyway, that's not the point. He's not a Sir over here. Maybe it's a typo. I don't know. Oh, I'm just so curious about it. I've always been fascinated by, the obsession with, the nobility, and you see it in the arts, especially in the UK, because peers, and lords, people like that, they always, get these positions to doing charitable things because they're usually rich people with nothing to do. And so they dabble in the arts. I mean, there was one guy, what was his name? Lord Harewood. You have to be careful because there's also a Lord Harewood without the E, but no, Lord Harewood. What was his real name? His real name was like George Lascelles, I think, or something like that, right? Wasn't it? Let's look him up. I think it was George Lascelles. Anyway, he was like Queen Elizabeth's cousin, and he was actually, only a few, a handful of steps away from the throne at one point, like when he was born. But then he was like, yeah, George Lascelles, that's his name, the 7th Earl of Harewood. Let's see a little bit. I mean, you always see him, right? If you read about the arts in England, he was a big opera guy, and everyone's always talking about, Lord Harewood this and Lord Harewood that, but they never say what his name was. It was Sir George Henry Hubert Lascelles, 7th Earl of Harewood, styled the Honorable George Lascelles before 1929 and Viscount Lascelles between 1929 and 1947. He was a British classical music administrator and author and a member of the extended British royal family. He was always involved with Britain. He did a lot of stuff with Benjamin Britten. He was a member of the extended British royal family as a maternal grandson of King George V and Queen Mary, and thus a first cousin of Queen Elizabeth II. He served as director of the Royal Opera House for quite a period, two separate terms, chairman of the board of the English National Opera for quite a lot of years, several years, managing director of the English National Opera, managing director of the English National Opera North, governor of the BBC, and president of the British Board of Film Classification. So there you go. It's really very, very interesting guy. I mean, these people were like appallingly wealthy. And he actually caused a scandal. I knew about this because his mistress, they all have mistresses. It's interesting why they all have mistresses if they never have sex. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. He actually did have sex. He had a child, and it caused a scandal. But his mistress was Bambi Tuckwell. His mistress's name was Bambi, which I think is just marvelous. Bambi Tuckwell was the sister of the French horn player Barry Tuckwell. And he got divorced. It was like in the 1960s. And he eventually married Bambi. And for years, they were ostracized from British society because he was a divorcee, and probably because they had a heart attack having somebody named Bambi being part of the upper crust, you know. I think it's like, pneumonia Rockefeller, as Anna Russell would put it, or someone named like that. Anyway, it's very, very funny. But that's Lord Harewood, and he was always involved, and he always talked about Britain and talked to Lord Harewood, and we went to see Lord Harewood. His name was George Lascelles. That's him. So anyway, and there were others of them too. There was Peter Moores. Peter Moores was a rich guy who was knighted and did all of that. Set up the Peter Moores Foundation to do opera in English, which unfortunately no longer exists. It went defunct in 2018, I think it was, or 2014, somewhere around there. But initially supported opera rara and made all of those marvelous recordings. We're going to talk about some of those. But anyway, this just got me going. And so I was just speculating, and I still am. It's all just blather, I understand, but fun blather, a little bit of gossip between friends, just you and me. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.